Hi, Meteorologist Lisa Green here on this Friday. Happy Friday. We made it through the week and we are looking at an interesting weekend to come with our next system moving in. We've got a first alert weather day specifically for Sunday, but also Saturday night and into Sunday is when we're looking at this next system is going to affect us. And big news came out yesterday. We've been anticipating this. You know, I like to talk about El Nino and La Nina here and how it influences our weather and our climate around the region. And yesterday it was announced that La Nina is back, and we expected that to happen, but now it is official. So that's what we're going to talk about first. I'm going to make you listen to me talk about La Nina here and get a little bit sciencey before we get into the forecast for the weekend. So let's take a look at some graphs. I know we always love to look at these and check out how things are shaping up for us. So a reminder, La Nina means that we have conditions that are cooler in the eastern Pacific, and I'm going to break that down a little bit more for you coming up here, but I'm going to take a full screen view. I just think it's a little bit easier to see rather than seeing it a TV screen inside a screen. So these are model plots from, this was coming in from September, was looking ahead, and model plots of where we stand for the sea surface temperatures. And again, this is getting a little bit interesting here. Bear with me. This is the SST means sea surface temperature anomaly. So this is the difference in degrees Celsius from the average temperature at the sea surface. And this is in Nino 3.4 is a region in the eastern Pacific where they're measuring these temperatures with buoys and that sort of thing. And El Nino has to do with the anomaly or the difference when it's warmer or cooler, depending on which one it picks up. That would potentially put us into a La Nina or an El Nino type event. And that has impacts on our weather here in the Red River Valley. So we want to watch this closely, especially in the winter time. The signals are pretty strong in the winter when we are in one of these events. So again, each one of these plots, that is a model output. So we're looking at the bottom of the screen here. That is ASO. That means August, September, October. SON, September, October, November. OND, October, November, December. So we're looking at 3-month periods. In the world of climatology, those are called seasons. And so where we think that sea surface temperature in that area is going to be every month for a 3-month period average. And so you can see these forecast models, and here they are all listed up here, these dynamical models. Each one has, a different way of interpreting things and different outputs. And usually when we look at that, we kind of take a more ensemble and grouping forecast of what we think they're all tending to do. For example, this one tends to be an outlier. So the probability of us seeing our temperature, this is average here, the average line, being that far below average is a lot lower. You can see the grouping is more here centered between 0 degree difference to a 1 degree Celsius difference. So that's something that we're always looking for. But models are plotting that anything below 0 is trending toward La Nina. And once we get to this ½ degree below 0, we are officially classified as in a La Nina. And so we're there, and so we're looking at where we go from here. So these are the seasons, these models plotting those what we expect to see for the seasons to come. So if this is September, October, November, so if we're in that range, the models that are predicting us to be kind of in this weak range, if we follow those along, we stay in La Nina conditions until we get toward the end of winter time. FMA is February, March, April. You can see we're starting to upward trend above that ½ degree below average mark, and we keep rising there, trending toward more neutral conditions. So that's one of the ways that climatologists are measuring and deciding whether to issue La Nina alerts, a La Nina advisory, that kind of thing, is looking at these models and looking at what we're dealing with right now. So hopefully that didn't get way too technical for you, but it kind of gives you the science behind how we are putting out these La Nina and El Nino forecasts. So here is the outlook. Again, we're looking at seasons here. We're going to zoom in more. And you can see these bars here. We'll bring it back up and I'll point at these things, and then we'll bring up the full screen view again in just a moment. But we are looking at blue bars. There's some gray and some red. What does this mean? Well, blue means we're trending into La Nina, or the chances of La Nina are higher. Neutral means gray, and red means El Nino. And so, again, looking at seasons, these are probabilities, so it's not necessarily a forecast, it's just that probability. So the percent chance here on the left. So for September, October, November, our chance of being in a La Nina, pretty high. We're looking at being close to 80%. And then we stay in that range through November, into that November, December, January time frame. And then looking at December, January, February, starting to see things turn. And the gray bar goes higher, heading into, again, that February to March range. We are looking at chances of moving back into a neutral phase between El Nino and La Nina happening. And that continues as we head into the spring months. So that's our outlook. We'll bring this back up full screen so you can get a look at that again. Just to kind of review that for a second. Again, blue bars mean La Nina. Looks pretty likely we'll be in La Nina for the coming seasons through the winter months, and then transitioning more to neutral conditions. And we'll talk about, again, more about what that means here in just a moment. So again, looking at the outlook there, let's talk about what the resulting decision is here. So La Nina is returning. We have been issued a La Nina advisory, and so we have had a weak La Nina develop. It emerged in September as we expected, and so we're looking at, based on the graphs we just looked at, we're looking at it likely to persist through February at least, and then start transitioning back to neutral ENSO conditions. ENSO meaning El Nino Southern Oscillation. That's what this whole thing is called. Whether it's La Nina or El Nino, it oscillates back and forth. And so El Nino Southern Oscillation, because again, this is more south of North America than here in the North America continent, but it influences our weather up here. And so what we're looking at here is that it's a weak La Nina. What does that mean? Well, anytime, something is weak, it's going to be less strong, right? That's what weak means. And so the possibility for the La Nina temperatures, those colder temperatures in the Pacific to influence our weather, it's lower. We're looking at maybe not necessarily a typical winter impact from this, but there is still that possibility that we could have it influence our forecast and our weather coming up heading into the winter season. Okay, so let's take a look at what La Nina means. And if you've been with us for a while, you've probably seen this graph before. We've got the North America, U.S. here on our view, and so we're going to go south for El Nino Southern Oscillation, and we're looking at the equatorial Pacific. So normally in that area, we see trade winds. They normally blow from east to west, and they tend to push the water of the Pacific westward and that warmer water to the west. As you know, of course, at the equator, where that sun is really warming those waters all the time. So that warmer water gets pushed west. That's a typical situation. But during La Nina years, so oftentimes, we see those trade winds get stronger. And that means that they're pushing even more of that warm water out. And before the sun can warm up that water even more, we start to see that colder water rise. And so we end up with colder water at the surface in the eastern Pacific. We kind of flip-flop things. And we know water can have a moderating impact on our weather and on our weather patterns as well. We know very warm waters in the Atlantic during hurricane season can help really charge a storm that's developed. It helps to feed into storms. We know that colder water tends to kind of stabilize things. And so if you've got an air mass that's more stable here, that's going to influence other air masses, other circulations going on around the globe. And so that sets us up for a certain type of pattern that we often see during a classic La Nina. And here it is right here. We've got typical wintertime conditions, the patterns that set up during a La Nina. And what happens is we get that polar jet pushing our air kind of from the northwest and then dipping right over the upper Midwest. And so that's why El Nino and La Nina, they have a very strong signal in general an impact on our winter conditions, more so than other parts of the U.S. here in the upper Midwest. So we pay close attention to this as we get into wintertime, and its impacts are greater during the wintertime as well. And so if we get a typical pattern setting up, we would expect to see potentially, it doesn't always guarantee that this is going to happen when we get into La Nina, but the possibility is greater that we could see this kind of setup, and then we would be seeing more air coming in from the northwest, more potential for cold air outbreaks, more potential for systems as the Pacific jet kicks in and starts to feed in some moisture as well. And it all kind of meets up here over the northern plains and into the upper Midwest. And so this is what would be a typical setup. If we were in a strong La Nina, this would be likely to happen. If that temperature anomaly were more 1 degree or even more below the average, that would have a greater influence. But because it's weak, its influence is less. That allows other climate patterns to help influence our climate as well. So it creates more of a kind of wishy-washy forecast here because of that. It muddies the water, we'll say. But it still can have some influence. And so we're watching out for the potential for it to impact our winter. And if you were watching last year around this time when I was going over the La Nina that was developing, we're double dipping here, getting back into another La Nina. You might remember I talked about the fact that during weak La Nina events like the one we have, we sometimes see with the data from past weak La Nina seasons, we see a very warm fall leading into the winter time, and then suddenly the bottom drops out and it gets cold. And we saw something like that end up setting up last year. Well, now we're just now getting into a weak La Nina, so we haven't been in it for a while, but we are starting to get back into it. So we could maybe see a similar influence. It'll be interesting to see how that plays out. We so far have had a mild October. We've had some cool mornings, but overall we've had a mild October, and September as well overall has been, kind of right in that range. We had some cold days, but overall we're looking at the potential being there for it to influence our weather and perhaps create a cooler than average winter. We'll see what happens here, of course. And so looking at our 3-month temperature outlook from the Climate Prediction Center, not a great indicator for us here. We're looking at October, November, December, again, a 3-month season here, where the southern part of the U.S. is looking at above average temperatures. And even in southern parts of Minnesota and into South Dakota, the Climate Prediction Center's leaning us toward above average temperatures there. But right here in the valley, the chances are about equal. That's kind of 33 above, 33% chance below, 33% chance of neutral conditions. So we're kind of in that, again, muddied water kind of range here according to that outlook. But we're not seeing that outlook showing below average chances. So there is that coming up here heading into December at least. And this only goes out through December 31st. So once we get further into fall and into the early parts of winter, we'll continue to progress this outlook and keep an eye on things coming up here heading into the winter months. So thanks for bearing with me and listening to what we're looking at here and the breakdown of what this weak La Nina means. Basically, it kind of inclines us to a cooler than average winter, but it's not a slam dunk. We're not necessarily saying, okay, this one's going to be a bad one because it is a weak La Nina coming up for this winter. So we'll keep an eye on it. So now let's talk about the more immediate future. We have changes coming up for this weekend. So here's what we're first alerting you to today. Get out and enjoy this because we've got some pleasantly sunny, quiet conditions going on today. It's not going to be so quiet as we head into the weekend because of that storm system we've been talking about. This is going to be bringing wind to the valley, to everybody in the valley, and then the potential for some rain as well. As we head further into the weekend, we'll see that potential reach us. So let's break down what to expect. Today, again, beautiful. We've got some nice sunny weather going on, blue skies, temperatures. It was a little cool this morning. Again, some of us might have seen some patchy frost, and now we're working our way back into the 50s. Wind is very light. It has turned northerly, so not as warm as yesterday. We're looking at highs getting into the upper 50s to some mid-60s, so around 63 for Fargo today, but keeping that wind light. Just a beautiful October day going on. And that does continue on into the evening too. So looking at some temperatures across the region, cooler, upper 50s toward Red Lake and Lake of the Woods, mid-60s, southeastern North Dakota, northeastern South Dakota. And here's a look at our Friday night forecast. If you're heading out for football tonight, Well, I think it's going to be okay. We're giving it the call on the field as it's good weather because it's going to be quiet. The wind is not going to be strong. We're not going to be dealing with precipitation going on. But it will start to cool down. You can see temperatures dipping back, and so you'll want a sweatshirt or a jacket or something to keep you warm in the stands here for heading into tonight, but keeping things on the dry side. So that's today. Let's get into this next weather maker, this weekend storm that's bringing us some rain and some wind. We have raised a first alert weather day for Saturday night and into Sunday. We talked about this yesterday. It's a potent storm. This one, tends to, as we start to transition through out of summer and into the fall and winter months, we tend to get stronger. We call them mid-latitude cyclones. Low pressure systems tend to get stronger and deeper, and so we're looking out for more wind with this one. And just kind of another sign that we've got some changing seasons here happening. We're looking out for wind. We're looking out for some storms and some rain coming up with this. So timing really quick here, and then we'll look at it on a map too. But late Saturday and into the overnight hours, Saturday night into Sunday, it's really going to start getting blustery with storm chances. And then Sunday morning, some of those storms and rain still lingering along with high winds. And then another round of PM rain or thunder showers possible with the wind ongoing with that. And that could continue all the way Sunday night into Monday morning, the wind at least. Now, one other thing I want to point out, you might have seen this on social media a little bit. There is a chance for some snow with this system, but it's affecting a large region, not just us. And we are not in line necessarily for seeing snowflakes. We're more likely to be on the rainy side of this one. So we'll talk more about that coming up in just a couple of minutes. So now's your time to get out and enjoy some fall weather before things change. Just a reminder, fall colors, we're at peak or even past peak in northern Minnesota. And as we head into the weekend and that wind starts to pick up and blow those leaves around, the trees might lose a lot of their leaves over the course of the weekend. So today and even heading into Saturday, we do have a chance to enjoy that. And speaking of Saturday, they were on North Dakota or Valley today this morning, the Boo at the Zoo, the Red River Valley Zoo, starting up tomorrow. And we're looking at conditions that are going to be pretty pleasant for this. So if you have events that you're heading to on Saturday, we'll be okay for most of the day. This happens from 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. And you can see we're going to stay dry. Temperatures going into the upper 60s by 4 o'clock. But notice the wind. That starts to pick up. You can see steady speeds in the 20s. Gusts are going to get higher than that. So for your plans and events going on Saturday during the day, we'll probably avoid the rain, but we will likely have to put up with the wind earlier on. That's going to be the first thing to start up. So plan accordingly and be ready for that for any outdoor events you're doing. And with that wind, we're also looking out for fire weather concerns. Yet again, a reminder, you need dry vegetation. The growing season's ending, a lot of things dying off. So that creates dry fuels. You need dry air. You need the wind for it too. And we definitely have some wind kicking in here for Saturday. So just want to talk about that fire forecast for Saturday. You can see a lot of places in the valley under a moderate fire danger for Saturday afternoon. So want to avoid burning on Saturday and Sunday for that matter. It's just going to be too windy for that coming up here in the forecast. Okay, let's talk about that wind. Heading into Friday this evening, you can see pretty quiet here. So these are our wind gusts, these numbers on the map. And as we work our way into Friday overnight and into Saturday morning, you can see that the wind is starting to tick up. We have wind speeds that are going to, or gusts rather, that are going to be in the 20s in the early morning hours. And then that wind field starts to move eastward as we head into midday, some gusts in that 30 plus range. And you can see some 40s on the map there in central North Dakota. And then that starts to move eastward into the heart of the valley. So 30s, 40 mile per hour gusts heading into Saturday evening. This is also the time we'll be watching out for rain and thunder showers. So heading into Saturday overnight, we'll continue to have some strong winds. This particular model brings us some of our strongest wind gusts on Sunday morning. You can see some numbers getting into the upper 40s, getting very close to that 50 mile per hour mark. So again, some strong winds expected into Sunday with that potential of 45 plus mile per hour gusts. And that wind coming in out of the south ahead of the cold front. So this is going to continue driving in that warm air that will continue to help fuel that chance for rain later Sunday night. until the front goes through. And so let's move ahead into the day on Sunday. Still seeing some winds gusting into the 30s and 40s coming up for Sunday. This particular model doesn't go as strong Sunday night, but there is the potential we could see some of our strongest winds with the cold front passage. So just keep that in mind throughout the day on Sunday. We need to be prepared for some strong winds. Let's take a look now at our hour-by-hour planner. So this is kind of what we've been waiting for to show you. We're looking out for quieter weather Saturday morning. We're starting this off at 7 a.m. on Saturday. Few clouds trying to lift in. Again, Saturday morning and even into the afternoon. This is 1 p.m. We're still looking pretty quiet. We're still seeing some sunshine. When I say quiet, I mean in the form of precipitation. That's going to hold off, but we will have the wind picking up. So we're going to be dry still and sunny at that point. So what I'm actually hoping for is that both Saturday and on Sunday, we may see a nice dry period to get out and do what you need to do, and then the rain comes in later on as we're settling in for the evening. So here's a look at Saturday around 5:45, we'll say, close to 6. We've got the clouds starting to move in, the rain, thunderstorm potential starting up. Could happen a little sooner than that. That's something to be aware of. But in general, the timing is looking to be into Saturday evening, and you can see it filling in more and more. And then through the overnight hours, this is 1 a.m. overnight Saturday night into early Sunday. You can see some areas of heavier rain. The potential is there for some lightning and the possibility for some wind associated with that too. Of course, just in general, it's going to be windy. And so this is going to be a factor heading into Sunday morning. And that, by the time we get into the 10 o'clock hour, that starts to move out. So your early Sunday plans could be impacted by some rain still coming down. If you're heading out to an early church service, it might be a little rainier. Later morning service, you may be able to leave that umbrella in your car. But overall, you can see we get into this pocket of a break here in the warm sector of the system. I don't have our lows and fronts drawn on this map here. I just want to kind of keep it simple. But the low is well to the north into Canada. So it's going to sweep through this front. And you can see that changeover already happening in southern parts of Saskatchewan and then back over into northeastern Montana, already happening on Sunday morning. And so that front will continue to move eastward. Meanwhile, we're still pretty dry Sunday afternoon in the valley. Moving on into the 4 o'clock hour, starting to see some more cloud development, and this is a time where we might start to see some showers or thunder showers starting to pop up Sunday evening. And again, I want to point out, you can see the blue. It's just barely ticking into the Williston area, but if we see snow in the valley, or in the state of North Dakota, I should say, that's where it's going to be most likely, in the Williston, northwestern corner of North Dakota area. That is the best likelihood. Greater likelihood north of the border into Canada. But here in the valley, our chances are a lot lower. It's just the fact that we're even talking about it is notable here, and that we're watching it, and that potential is getting closer to us in the valley. So we want to make sure we cover that for you here and make sure you know that we're really just looking out for some rain and thunder. This is Sunday at 7 o'clock. You can see some evening showers moving through. There is the potential, again, for a little bit of rain and thunder going on Sunday night. And that chance for snow lifts to the north and east from there. So again, keeping things more on the rainy side Sunday night and into Monday. Now, things could change. We'll be keeping an eye out for that, but right now, this is how it's looking. Moving on into Monday morning, the rain starts to move on. We'll still have some wind as this system departs and as the cold front sweeps back east. That wind will be pretty strong coming in behind the front. So that's a look at our hour-by-hour planner. And, if you have any questions, I'm going to try to remember to check Facebook. And if you have any questions, I'll see what your questions are and try to answer them for you here coming up. So please comment on our Facebook Live post that we have. But you can see that this is our snow potential. A reminder, the ground's still very warm this time of year. So the likelihood of accumulation is lower. If it falls at a fast enough rate, it can overcome that for a time, but eventually it will melt pretty quickly. What would be more concerning is trying to drive through it, because we'll have falling snow in some of these areas in southern parts of our prairie provinces in Canada and into northeastern Montana and maybe northwest North Dakota. That would be the issue, would be falling snow combined with wind and reduced visibility. If you're traveling in that direction, something to keep in mind and to keep a close eye on. as we go through the weekend. But you can see we're not really looking at snow here in the valley. You know, we might want to keep an eye out toward the Rolette County area up along the border, but most of us, again, just watching for wind and rain and our neighbors to the west to get the snow. If we do, again, there's still some question marks with that, but the possibility is there. And up until this point, we haven't seen that yet this season, so some changes happening. Here's a look at our rainfall, our liquid precipitation through Sunday, and actually we'll just do this through Sunday night. This is through 11 o'clock. You can see that we've got a lot of areas with the potential for rain, and then there are places that get less than a ½ inch of rain, and then where we get those storms on Saturday night especially and into early Sunday, where those set up and develop, that's where we have the best bet for the heavier rainfall amounts, that 1 inch plus in places like Fargo, back up to northwest Minnesota, and that will be the area that we're watching more closely for heavier rainfall. But, you know, everybody has a shot at getting some rain here heading into the weekend, both with the first round Saturday night, and again, not as widespread, not as likely, but still a possibility Sunday night too. So here's our weekend planner. Now this is a little deceptive because these numbers and this weather is for the afternoon hours, and as I mentioned, there may be times, right when we want them to be, where we get some nice big breaks between chances for rain. So for Saturday, we may not see the rain move until nighttime, so most of the day staying dry, but you can see the wind. Temperatures mid to upper 60s to around 70 for your high on Saturday, especially in areas where we may get some more sun. And then on Sunday, you know, temperatures don't drop that much because we're still ahead of the cold front on Sunday, and so we'll be into the 60s to near 70, and the wind will be strong. We will have had the rain move through overnight Saturday night and into early Sunday. Then we get that break again into the afternoon where we're appearing here. And then later in the evening, that potential for rain returns for areas in the valley. So again, Sunday, first alert weather day. That's because I think we likely will see our strongest winds on Sunday. Whether it's in the morning or into the evening hours as the cold front moves through, there is that possibility for those 45+ mile per hour gusts. But even Saturday night, again, we want you to be ready for the rain and thunderstorms too, coming up for the forecast for this weekend. So here's a look at our 11-day planner. You can see today, beautiful. So enjoy today. It's going to be a while before we see that wind ease up. So get out and enjoy the quiet weather now. Again, windy weather this weekend with the chances for rain and thunder and heavier rain in some areas Saturday night. And then moving into Monday, the breeze sticks around, but the chances for rain moves on. And then we've been watching another system for next week into midweek. Right now, it's looking less impressive, which, you know, is good. We don't want any wild, dramatic systems moving through. But there is still a chance for some rain, and it still looks like it could be breezy. And notice behind me here that our temperatures are going to be on the cooler side next week as well, as we're taking a look at our 11-day planner. So we are looking at conditions that are going to be on the active side this weekend, but at least for today, we're looking pretty quiet. So I'm going to pull up our, let's see here, I'm going to pull up our post on Valley News Live Facebook page and just see if we have any questions, if I can answer any questions for you. Not seeing any right now, then that's fine. Hopefully I've already answered your questions as we've been going over this. But we are, again, looking at some more active weather and just, you know, more signs of the fact that we have seasonal changes happening here. A more potent system that's starting to sweep through, drawing down so much colder air, so much so behind it that we have the potential for some snow in the region, not here in the valley, but in the region. And of course, we've been talking about La Niña too. It's back, and that can have an influence, a cooling influence on our winter weather, but this one is weak, so its influence is going to be a little bit less likely if it stays in that weak range. So overall, we're thinking about, you know, winter weather now as we head further into October, although we do still have some mild days ahead. And so today's your day to enjoy some quiet, some sunshine before it starts to get windy, and then eventually that chance for rain comes too. And we'll be here for you throughout the weekend. I know that we're going to have another update coming up this afternoon from our evening crew. And of course, we'll be covering any issues that come up over the weekend as well with your forecast coming up on the on Valley News Live, but also here on Valley News Now. And of course, our weather app is a great tool to check the radar, to check the latest updates, to check those wind speeds, you know, where it's strong already, when it will be moving into your area, when we'll see those showers. So always a great tool, especially when you're out and about and away from your television, to be able to check that. So we'll continue to keep that updated for you and keep you up to date right here on Valley News Now.